I was taking the dog for a walk this morning and I ran into a neighbor. And during the conversation, the neighbor had asked me, said, "Hey, Paul, are you retired?" And at first, I didn't know what to say, but I said the next best thing. I said, "I'm semi-retired." He's like, "Oh, that's great." And I said, "I'm actually a speaker and a coach." And he said, "Are you a football coach?" I said, "No, I'm actually a coach in the self-improvement industry. Those that want to better their health, wealth, or relationships and things to that area." He's like, "Oh, that's really neat." Now, if my wife heard what I had said to this guy, I'd probably get a kick in the pants. Yeah, semi-retired, all right. You're actually fully retired as far as I'm concerned. And that could be the case. And what I mean by what I'm saying here is we can feel retired, we could act retired, or we could fake being retired. None of which really matters unless we're happy and fulfilled. And that's the challenge that I'm faced with now. As a independent entrepreneur working for myself, I could take the dog for 10 walks a day. I could do yard work around the clock. But is it effective? And what I need to express to all of you is you yourself need to find what it is in life that not only that you're passionate about, but you're driven to. And that could be, helping the less fortunate, any nonprofit or something philanthropic or something just that makes you feel good because you're helping to bring value to others. And once you have that emotion, that happiness, that passion, life will not only be wonderful, it'll start getting better and better and better, whether it be from a financial standpoint, a relationship standpoint, a physical or mental health standpoint, any one of those. And what I need to convey now to the outside speaking world that hires folks like myself is that what I share in my trials and tribulations and in my misfortunes, with my 5-year-old son having cancer, with me being diagnosed a month later with cancer and getting through that, and then to be diagnosed with a mental illness and living in a psychiatric institution almost 2 years in a row, that was trials. Those were tribulations. But those stories will not only help me, but they will help you. You see, when I reflect back on my challenges, they were terrible. They were god awful. They were suicidal in some respects back then. But that shaped me into the person that I am today. And when I convey that message to my audience, they'll be able to take their trials and tribulations and put them in perspective, or at least that's the objective. And I can provide tactics and strategies to do just that. But you need to have a belief and a desire to do it, to get better. Nobody's going to carry you up the mountain. And you're not going to drift there either. Nobody wants to put the work in. But when you put the work in, it's going to be a better good later. We get tripped up in the short-term pleasures for long-term disappointments or angst. But if we have the short-term difficulties and challenges to overcome, that'll give us the long-term joy and pleasure. And I've lived that. You know, I never thought in the summers of 2018 and 2019 that I would ever truly be happy again with an internal peace. And I know it sounds crazy to some of you. It did for me because I was always a positive, happy guy. But those 2 years were hell. But I understand now they were hell for a reason. I got myself to that point. I didn't give my son cancer. But I truly believe that my psychiatric issues were self-inflicted to a certain respect. But instead of lamenting on them as I was, I then started stepping out of it and getting better from that. So yes, it makes you stronger, but it's not going to do it on its own. You, him, her, they have to work internally to change externally, if that makes sense to you. So I appreciate you staying on for my diatribe, and I'll check in with you shortly.